Hey guys, welcome to Muse Themes. Today we're looking at Onload Animator. Onload Animator is a small but really powerful widget that allows you to animate elements on your Muse site. The great thing about it is that you have different options for how you want that animation to happen. So it can be on load or it can loop infinitely. And we've also included a really cool option for adding a mask to the animation. Basically what the mask allows you to do is to control where specifically the animation is kind of going to start and end. You can define boundaries on the animation. So as I scroll down here in the demo, you can see when I get to these kind of infographics area that these animated in. And if I keep scrolling down, we have some photos that are coming in from the left and from the right. And below that, we have a loopable animation. So this is just a small example of an animation that is playing again and again and doesn't have a start and an end to it. So as I said, Animator is a really small widget. It's super easy to set up, but the way that we built it is we've kept it really light and not loading a bunch of unnecessary code. You want to be careful with animation widgets that it's not loading every single animation into the site again and again if you're using it multiple times. So let's jump into Muse and I'll show you how to set this up. So I have a blank page here in Muse, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the bottom of the page way down. We need a lot of room for this because we're going to activate the animation when it comes into view on scroll. So the next thing we'll do here is just drag the Onload Animator widget out onto the canvas. And you'll notice it comes in as two components. So we've got a base widget, and the base widget only needs to be placed once on the page that you're using animations. This is where we built it for optimization. The base widget loads the set of animations one time, and then you just need to drop as many of this kind of secondary or animator widgets as many times as you have elements that you want to animate. So just one of these, and you can put it off to the side. And here's our actual animator widget. So when I open up the panel, you can see that we have settings for entering a graphic style. We can change the animation type, the animation trigger mode. Now we've got some fine-tuned settings below, like a delay, a duration on the animation, and then we have that masking effect I mentioned before. So let's just set up a very simple animation here. I'm going to place a file on the canvas, so we just have a MuseThemes logo here. Let's drop that on, say about that big, and I'm going to move it so it's kind of halfway down the page and so that we have some room to scroll it into view. Perfect. So the next thing I'll do with that logo is I'm going to create a graphic style for it. So let's go to graphic styles, create a new one, and I'm going to call this one logo and click OK. Okay, so now that we've got a style applied to that, let's go back up to our animator widget. Now the graphic style we want to animate, it's called logo, of course. Now the animation type that we want to have, we've got a huge amount of animations here. This is a really popular library called Animate.css. So let's go ahead with just something simple like fade in down. Then we want to select our trigger mode. So we've got three options in here. We can animate it once when in view. So when somebody scrolls to it, it's going to animate in once. And if they scroll away and back, it's not going to animate again. We've got animate every time in view. So every time somebody scrolls that element into view, it's going to animate. And then we've got loop infinitely. Basically, the animation is going to replay itself again and again. So for this element, let's do animate every time in view. And in terms of settings within the box here, that's really up to you in terms of how you want it to appear. But we can add a delay before the animation. So let's just add, let's say, a half-second delay. And then the animation duration set to 1 second. Let's go to 2 seconds. Okay. And we don't want to select anything else on this. So let's preview in the browser. And when I scroll down so that element comes into view, you can see that it slowly faded up. Now, you can't see the fading up effect so well because I'm actually scrolling down at the same time. So let's change the animation type a little so it's easier to see. And let's go with something like fade in right and preview that again. So when I scroll down to the element, there, you can see it's coming in from the right. Now, one thing I want you to notice on this element is that it's coming from basically the right side of the browser. So, for example, if you wanted to create an effect that looked, say, like these bars animating in, and let me reload that so we can see those. So see how they animate in just a small area. That's where we're going to use the masking effects in this widget. So we've got our logo done. So let's just build something below that here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate the effect that we have with those loading bars. Basically what we've done in that area is we've created a couple rectangles. We've got one that's kind of gray or lighter gray. Let me just make that a little bit transparent. Okay. So that's in the middle there. And then we've got another bar on top of it. And that's the actual bar that kind of appears to load in. So we could take that and let's make it kind of orange there. So to build this effect, what you do is, of course, we'll place a graphic style on the orange part or the loading part. And let's create a new style and we'll call this one, say, bar, and click OK. And then we'll go up to our animator widget, and I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste another one down here so that I can see it better. And you know what? I'll move the MuseThemes one out of the way. Okay. So on this bar, we've got a graphic style applied. Let's go ahead and add an animation. So bar. And then for this one, perhaps we want it to come in as a kind of a fade in from the left side, like we've done in the demo. And we'll have it animate every time in view. Animation settings, we could change the duration again, anything. Let's just preview this and see how it looks. So if I preview that in the browser, of course we've got our logo here. And let me reload, or I'll scroll back up and go back down so you can see. You'll notice that it comes in from too far. We just want it to load within this small area, but it's coming in from the side of the browser. That's where this mask option comes in. So let's add a mask on this. If I bring up the panel settings, it says enable overflow mask. And if I click that, it wants us to use a mask style, graphic style name. So to create a mask, you need to use a state button. And a state button is in the widgets library underneath buttons, and it's called state button. So I'm going to drag a state button out on the page. I'm actually going to right click or control click on this and go clear all styling. And I'm going to clear all the widget contents. So basically this is just a blank state button now. I'm going to make it about the size of where we want our animation to play. So let's say about there. And I'm going to create a graphic style for that state button. And let's call this mask. And click OK. So now let's just place our mask right below. And what you want to make sure is that they all snap together with the state button. Notice how I'm still moving the state button here. So a better option might actually be to drag these two elements into the state button, and there. Now they've become one single element. So now that we have a mask applied, and we have, of course, our mask effect here, or mask graphic style entered in, the animation should only play within this small state button area. And let me delete this out of the way. It's kind of distracting. So let's preview it in the browser. And now when we scroll down, notice how it only plays within the masked area. So this is a really powerful effect and something that's quite unique to an animation widget in Muse. In terms of other settings that I didn't cover, there isn't much to it. We've got a option to have an effect animate on hover, which is pretty apparent what that does. If you mouse over it, it's going to animate. We also got a fade out animation. Right now it's grayed out. You can only use fade out in the loop indefinitely option. This is just for compatibility reasons. So that's the Onload Animator widget. I hope you like it. It's really small, really powerful, easy to set up, a great addition to your site, and actually a great alternative to using scroll effects if you have a responsive website. This suite of animations will not impact responsiveness in any way. It's fully responsive. Thanks again for watching, and best of luck with this widget. Cheers.